Okay, so let's look at this. I introduce you to the Linux distribution. So you have Red Hat CentOS, Ubuntu, SUSE, Linux, Fedora, Gentoo, Madriva, and all that. I showed you part of that on the AWS console, right? So we have a file structure. In Linux, there's a file structure, right? So this is how the file structure looks. If you have a slash like this, is the root, right? So the root meaning that it's the root directory. In Windows, you call it folders, right? In your Windows operating system, you have folders. If you want to save a file into a folder, you create a folder, right? In Linux, we call it directories. Those are directories. And it has, when you have a sign like this, is the root, right? So with the root, you can start with root home, right? For example, you can cd into your home directory. So that will take you to your home directory, right? You can cd back, you can cd into your bin directory, right? That will take you to your bin directory. You can cd into, I need to get out of the bin directory first. You can cd into your sbin directory, and that's your sbin directory. You can cd into your etc directory. You can cd into the lib directory. I will explain all that, all right? And cd back. You can cd into your opt directory. Okay. And cd back. Okay. So what are all these directories? What are all these directories? Right. So the home directory is nothing is the home directory. It contains the home directories for all users to store their personal files. So all your files that you want to store, like you're doing in Windows, you can store all your files in the bin directory. For example, I can create a file. You can do a touch command to create a file. And I call this file IT. So this IT is being stored in the home directory, right? So if I do cd home, let's see, we can see that, right? So I have EC2 user. I'm the EC2 user right now. So let's see. Exit this. So I'm exiting this. I'm coming back here. If I do ls now, see, this is the file that I created on the home directory. Now I have that file. I can see that file. Even though I exited, it's stored in that directory. So if I get into this file now, see, this is the file I had. It was an empty file that I created, right? So if I type, I can create a set and start typing into this file. I'll show you how to do all this. Okay. I save and quit. Now, if I go back and look at this file, everything that I had is stored in this file. So it's stored in your home directory, right? So I can save and close this again, right? If I do ls now, I have that file in there, okay? So that's the home directory. So it stores your personal files, right? If you create a file, it stores the personal file. You want to see the path to that directory. If I do pwd, right? So this, my file is created in /home /EC2 user, right? Then / my directory. So it'll be something like this. It'll be something like this, /home /EC2 user /IT. So this is the path where my file exists, right? Okay, so that's for the home, so you can store. Then the bin directory contains the commands and binary files. Yeah, user. So all the binary files, when you create an application, the application, after you build an application, always comes as a binary file, right? It always comes as a binary file. So the binary file is stored in the bin directory. Now the inbuilt binary files that are in there, those are commands, right? For example, when I did the ls command, ls command, what does it do? It lists all the files that I have in the system, right? If I do make directory, we're trying to create a directory now called IT. Sudo make directory. All right. Oh, the file exists already. Okay, it says the file already exists. Let me clear this real quick. Okay, so if you make these are binary files. When I do cd to change directory, right? If I do cd to change directory, these are binary files. If I do make directory, like touch that I do, I make touch is to create a file, right? I'll get into all this so you can know. Those are all binary files. They are inbuilt into the Linux commands. And when you create an application, to run the application is also a binary file, right? It's stored in your bin directory, whereby you can use that to run your application. You can run a command on a command line console like this, you'll be able to run that application. Okay, so that's the bin directory. Then you have the sbin directory, right? Sbin directory contains binary files that only root users, right, can use. For example, you want to reboot your system, your instance, right? All those files, shut down your system, reboot it. Only administrators have access to the sbin file. If you're not a system administrator, you won't be able to have access to that file. So it serves is a security feature so that nobody gets into your system and messed up with it. Okay, so that's what it does. Then the lib directory is the library, right? So the library, it contains all the library that powers your system. So all your library files get into the lib directory. So that's exactly what it does, right? You don't have to mess with it. You don't have to do anything. So you create anything, any library, it is stored in your library file. These are system files that is used to power your instances. So you have the proc, right? POC, it contains the process information, right? Like the CPU information. This is a proc directory. All the CPU information. Let me see if I can get into cd proc ls, right? So it contains all the memory information, your CPU information is contained. This is where all that information is contained, right? System administrators can go in here and use it. Don't worry about this. It's just so that you know all the file systems, right? You will never probably have to touch this. Let me cd back, right? See, when I use the cd, I can cd into a new directory. When I do cd with space 2 dot, I'm going back to my original directory, right? But we'll get into those commands in a little bit. We're still looking at the file directories. Then you have the temp directory. Temp directory, what it does is just the temporary files. There are temporary files that needs to be stored somewhere. So all the temporary files are stored in your temp directory. We have the user directory. So user directory sometimes also works like a bin directory. There are some organizations that use the user directory to store their applications instead of using the bin directory. You see here, even the user directory has a bin directory inside it, right? So some people choose to store their file in the bin directory. Some people store it in the user directory, right? So it depends on preferences. So it contains binary files just like the bin directory contains binary files and also has libraries in them as well. You see the lib directory is also here, and you have the bin directory here, you have games and all that. Okay, so that's the user directory. Okay, so let's see which one. Then you have the variable. So var directory is used for logs, right? So everything that is going on in your system, whenever you operate your system, there's accountability, there's record. When you first log into your system, it's recorded somewhere. when you type a command, when you cd out of the command, it's recorded. All those actions that you're taking, the keystroke that you make, are all recorded somewhere. And where that is recorded is in your var directory. So you can have a var log directory. So if you create an application and it also wants to hold information about your application as people using the application, you store all that file in your var log directory. So if I go to cd into my var directory, if I ls into it, so you see all these directories. All these directories, what they do is they are capturing all the information. This is administration. If the system crashes, if there's an empty, if there's a game, these are all the libraries. It captures all the information about what is going on in your system and hold it here. So you can always go back and see, okay, if there's a problem, what is in the log file. So this is the log directory. You can see it into a log directory, and this log directory has all kinds of logs in here already, right? These logs will tell you there's a problem in the system. Let me VI, or let me cat one of these logs. Last log, right? It doesn't have anything in it. Okay. CD into log. ls, what do we have? Let me see if we have any log that has anything in it. So let me cat Spola or permission denied. Sudo cat Spola. I'm elevating my privilege now to see if I can get it. Now I can get in. There's nothing in that file. So it hasn't captured anything. It's a brand new server. So let me see if we'll catch anything. Probably will not catch anything because if you get in here, messages, cat messages, permission denied, sudo cat messages. All right, now you see the logs, right? It's capturing every information. Look at all this information that it has captured. This is the local host, system D, right? Starting host when you're starting. So it gives you all this information about, it gives you the timestamp as well as you're progressing, doing things in your server. You have all this logged somewhere in your log directory, right? So you can go back and see if there's any problem, right? So everything is successful. If you run into issues, you can go back here and say, okay, there's a problem. Where did I have a problem? Then if you're a system administrator, you can go back in and solve this problem. And this is system. If you want to clear all this information, you just type clear and enter. I want to get back into, I can cd and cd back and back to my original directory. Then you have dev directory as well. That's different when you want to use a USB. Most people don't use USB anymore. Okay, so that's the system files. Before we close, I think we still have like 7 minutes. Let me run into, we'll probably do this again. You'll see this again and again, right? So if you want to create a directories, for example, the directory is a folder. Is a folder in your Windows. If you ever use Windows, you want to store something in a Windows, you create a folder. Then you create a file, then you store in the folder. Okay. In this case, we call it directory in Linux. Now you want to create a directory, you use the command, say, called make directory. So I can make a directory now, mk directory. I want to call it class 003. Permission denied. So I can elevate my privilege, right? One way I can elevate my privilege is to use sudo make directory, right? Class 003, right? Now that directory is created. So if I do ls now, oh, I'm creating into, I didn't want to create it. Let me get out of this. Exit, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, let me clear this again. If I do make directory, I have to be able to elevate my privilege, make directory class 003, right? So that directory is created. If I do ls now, you see that directory is created. It's class 003. And because it's a directory, see the difference? it gives me a different color. This is a file and this is a directory, right? And there's nothing in this directory. I can move this file into this directory, right? So I can do sudo mv move it, right, into class 003, right? So if I do ls now, that other it, when I can move this one as well, sudo mv move it into class 003, right? So if I do ls now, all that file I had is now in class 003. So I can cd into class 003 now, right? If I do ls now, so you see all those files are now under class 003, right? So I'm making a directory. I'm using the move command to move my files into that directory. So I'm showing you two commands as well, the move command and mk directory to create a directory. And I also showed you another command, which is the ls command, to list either my files or my directories. So if I go back here, go back cd, right? If I do ls, it will show me my directory, right? And cd means change directory. So I'm changing directory now into class 003. Now, this is my directory that I want to get into. I'm changing directory. So if I do ls now, which is list directory, I will list the files that are in that directory. So I can do cd, I do dot space dash dot space dot dot will take me to the former directory that I was, right? It will take me back to the former directory, right? Okay, so that is make directory, list directories, and also move a file, right? I've shown you three commands. Now, if I have created a lot of directories, I can use the tree command. The tree command will list, I don't have a tree, so I probably have to, yeah, don't worry, I would install tree. Sudo install tree. So I don't have a tree command here. So see, on the fly, I'm installing this command right now, the tree command. Because I didn't have it, I'm installing it now. And play this. So now if I do tree command, now I have a tree. See, this is the directory that I created. So it gives you your directory in hierarchical format, right? I have the class 003 directory that I created, and I have these two files. And again, I need to let you know that Linux is case sensitive. So you see, I have these two names, IT, but the first IT start with a small letter, and the second one start with a capital letter. They are two different files. They are not the same files, right? So they are case sensitive. So if you're creating IT with a capital letter, you think you're creating IT with a small letter, it's going to give you two different files. It's not one, right? So be mindful of that, okay? And we've used cd, which is a change directory over and over. You want to change from one directory to the other. Another thing you want to do is you want to see the directory, the root directory where you are. You can do pwd. That will give you the path. This is called the absolute path to where your file is stored. So if I want to see where is my file stored, what's the absolute path? So this file is stored in the home /ec2 user /class 003. If I'm looking for the file IT, then IT. So this is the absolute path of my file. Okay, the next thing, I have created this. Okay, let me cd into class 003 again. All right, I'm in this and I've created these two files. I want to remove this file that I've just created, right? So I can use the remove command, which is the rm command, right? If I do rm command, then I want to remove it. It says permission denied. It doesn't give me the permission because I need to elevate my privilege, right? To be able to do that. So to elevate your privilege, you use the sudo command. This is the sudo. Then rm, then itt. Then I can remove that. So if I do ls now, that one is gone, right? I can remove this one too. Sudo rm command it. If I do ls, those two files that I created are gone, right? So I can cd back, right? If I do ls now I still have my class 003. So if I cd into my class 003, you see nothing is in my class 003 now. Nothing in there because I deleted those two files. Let me cd back, right? Clear this. Okay, so I have my, what do I have now? Class. So I can remove this directory now. To remove the directory, I use the rm directory command, right? So I can do sudo rm dir. So remove directory is rm remove directory. Then I can type in that directory, class 003, right? So if I do ls now, that directory is gone. Okay, so I've showed you how to make directory, list directory, create a tree, right? Do a cd, change directory, print working direction to see where your absolute path is and how to remove the directory and to how to remove a file, right? So we've done the basic Linux commands. Those are basic Linux commands today. We're at top of the hour. Anyone has any question before we call it a day? Okay, again, your homework, I'll write it out, I'll post it. If you have not signed, if you've not had an account with Telegram, please go ahead and do that. That's the only way you can watch the videos and have other communications about assignments, right? So I'm going to write in Telegram the assignments, what I require you to do. First of all, download Mobile XM, create an account in AWS Cloud, then try to SSH into that cloud. Then I want to, after you've registered, SSH into the cloud, you have this console, you have this interface. I wanted to create, a file, wanted to create a directory, right? Use the make directory to create a file, then do ls command, do the tree command. You may not be able to do the tree command because you don't have tree command. I will give you a command to install tree, right? Then do a cd command, pwd command. Try to remove the file after you've created it, and also try to remove the directory that you created. Okay, so that will be your assignment for today till we meet again next week. Okay, so thank you so much and have a